Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. It's your girl Sonia McQueen with your mind, your body, your choice, or it's your life. What are you doing with it? I think that's the name of it. I'm not sure. But anyway, today I want to come to you and talk about the middleman. Sometimes the middleman is a positive person and sometimes not so much. Yesterday, my husband and I were having a conversation about a couple of people we know that are what I will call middlemen. So now I'll explain with some examples. All right, so you have a conversation with somebody. Let's just say you don't care for somebody. You're speaking negatively about them. None of the listeners I have would do that. But let's just pretend, for the sake of this podcast, that you're speaking negatively about that person. You don't care for them. You don't care for the way they do this, the way they act like this, the way they dress like that. And you are talking about them to another person who knows them. The person doesn't interject, which I've talked about before. If you shut down gossip, it won't happen twice. But they're entertaining it. They're laughing. Maybe they're adding their own uh-huhs or whatever. And no sooner than they leave you, they're calling the person you talked about. They are now the middleman. They're calling that person to tell that person everything you said. Let's talk about that negative middleman, the person who cannot wait to bring negative words to somebody that somebody else said about them. Let's speak about what prompts them to want to even do that. What makes somebody listen to negativity about another person and then run and tell them? And I don't care under what juncture. It could be work. Somebody doesn't think you do a great job at work, and you were being talked about, so now this person's coming to tell you everything that was said. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's even family. I've never seen so many people hurt each other and talk so negatively about each other as I have seen in families. But let's just say you have that one person who is the bearer of that bad news. My first question is, what right do they have to be the bearer? Now, not all people who are bringing you news like that are doing it to harm you. Some people just can't wait to tell you what somebody else said because they are, for lack of better words, shit starters. They stir it up. They stir it up. They just love to start mess. But the crazy thing about those people, if you confront them with that other person, they will tuck their tail. 9 times out of 10, they will tuck their tail and they'll be mad at you. They'll be mad at you. Here's another example of a negative middleman, right? Or a negative news bearer. So Sally calls me and Sally tells me something deeply personal, and she asked me not to tell anybody. She's like, Sonia, I trust you. Please don't share that information. I'm like, of course not. Why would I do that? It's not even my business. I love the fact that you even trusted me to call me. But no sooner than I hang up, I just got to tell that one person that I trust. So I call Paula, like, hey, I just talked to Sally, and between us, XYZ. And Paula's like, oh my God, are you serious? I'm like, yes, Paula, but don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. That's personal for Sally. And Paula's like, of course, girl, I got your back. I'm not going to tell that. It's not my business to tell. And Paula hangs up with me and she calls Betty. She's like, Betty, listen, I'm going to tell you this, but Sonia asked me not to tell anybody, so please don't tell anybody else this story. And then she shares with Betty what I shared with her, what Sally shared with me in confidence. And then Betty calls me and says, hey, I didn't know Sally was. Now the story's changed a little bit, right? And I'm like, what the heck? Where'd you get that? Well, don't get upset, but Paula called me. And now I'm mad at Paula. How dare she break my confidence and call Betty and tell Betty something she promised me she wouldn't share. But I'm totally forgetting about the fact that Sally trusted me and it was Sally's business in the first place. Sally called me and said, between us. And I broke that confidence. But I got enough nerves to be mad at Paula for breaking that same confidence that I broke. You know, it's amazing people trust you sometimes and it's so juicy to you. Their business is so juicy. You just got to tell that one person. No, you don't. No, you don't. Have you ever been in a situation where somebody knows something and you absolutely know it's confidential, it's dear to their heart, it's personal, and that person's talking about it and you act like you have no idea what they're talking about or you didn't know, but you knew. You just knew it wasn't your place to share. That's how all information should be handled. If I'm telling you, if I trust somebody enough to share my life, because most people know I don't share my life. I do not share what you guys hear is probably the bulk of anything anybody knows about me. Right? There's two people in this entire world that I trust with any and all information about me. Three, excuse me, three. Most information, though, if I really want to, I just pray about it. But sometimes somebody knows stuff about you that is so deep and so heavy, they wouldn't dare share your information. So when they hear somebody else sharing it, number one, it disgusts them. But number two, they know how to play the part and act like, yeah, I didn't. Just some people cannot wait to tell what they know about somebody else because they feel like it's so juicy. It's so juicy. I got to let somebody else know. I know this. You don't know. And that's all it is. It's not even about bringing help and understanding and love and support to that person. It's about sharing something you don't think anybody else knows. And you just got to let them know what you know that they don't. And that's the justification, whether you admit it or not. It's all about just sharing for your pat on the back and attaboys, not to help the person who's hurting. Those middlemen are the worst kind. They break families. They start situations that they tuck their tail and run out of. They are purposeful at spreading rumors and lies and hurt and even truth. Even truth. They're purposeful at it. But then they become cowards and they backpedal and they lie. No, I didn't. And they start exaggerating the situation or minimizing their part and getting upset with the person who told the business that they had no business sharing, right? Then you have the good middleman. And you're like, is there a good middleman? Of course, there's a good middleman. I've actually tried to be the good middleman more times than I can count, but let's just say I have two brothers that love each other immensely. I've never, my brothers are 6 and 7 years older than me, and I've never heard them argue, never seen them fight, nothing. And when they were young, they had to share a room. But let's just pretend for a second that Greg was extremely mad with Stacy, extremely upset. And he told me what happened. Now, I could be that bad middleman and go back and say, ooh, Stacy, Greg is so upset with you. You know what he said? And I can continue to break. I can continue to pull apart that bond, thread, piece of thread by piece of thread, just breaking and cutting and breaking and cutting. Or I could pray about it and then go. I can't remember which brother I said, so I'm going to just say I could go to Stacy and say, hey, Stace, what's going on with you and Greg? Y'all are so tight without even sharing what Greg said. Just sharing my love and admiration for both of my brothers and trying to mend that little fracture. Hey, you guys, I'm going to cook. Everybody come over to the house. I'm going to cook. Or not telling Greg that Stacy's going to be there, not telling Stacy Greg's going to be there. Fix a great dinner, have a great family time, bring a little Jesus into the. That's a good middleman. That's somebody trying to fix a fracture, not permanently break the bone, right? You might have a little need for a splint, but now I'm not going to come in and give you a reason for an entire cast, and now that bone will never be the same again. I'm never going to do that. You have good middlemen. You have the person who carries the good news. You have the person who brings hope and purpose and love and support, and let's mend this relationship. Unfortunately, I have been surrounded a lot of my life by the first middlemen, the ones who want to keep mess going, and they love the fact that X and Z aren't getting along. You know, there are people who actually revel in the fact that two family members are fighting or two friends are fighting. And you know what happens? So it's crazy. If me and Sally's mad at me now, right? Because I told Paula her business, and then Paula told Betty, and Betty called me, and I'm mad at Paula, and then Sally finds out, and Sally's mad at me for sharing her business, right? It's all a mess. I hope y'all stayed with that. It's all a mess. First thing I need to do is go apologize to Sally and be honest. Sally, I did. I shared your information, and I would understand if you never shared anything with me again. I just want to tell you, I'm extremely sorry. I apologize. I know that I can't take back words, but from the bottom of my heart, I had no business sharing your business. And I am so sorry, and I really pray you could forgive me. But most people won't do that. They'll act like it never happened. And then they'd have enough nerves if Sally doesn't get over it quickly to be mad at Sally. I can't believe she's still mad at me over that. I can't believe she's still. You know what I've done with people like me in that scenario? I don't share anything else with them. I know how to maneuver around people and move them into certain parts of my life. You are no longer allowed at the top, the forefront of my friends list. I still care about you. I'm still going to greet you. I'm still going to hug you. I'm still going to laugh with you. But you will not know what's going on in my life because I can't trust you. And if you guys pay attention, people always show you if that's the route they're going to take. You know how? Because me as Sonia, I would have been telling you other people's business. I would have been calling Paula, telling Paula, "Oh, girl, guess what Phil did today? Guess what I heard about Billy? Oh my gosh, you're not going to believe what I found out about Pam, Pat, Patricia." That's what the negative middleman does. They just have to tell something about somebody else. It's called gossip, but also it could just be the middleman. The middleman bringing mess and keeping disdain in relationships. Now, what I was going to say earlier is it's amazing. Those middlemen can start trouble like that by telling this person what that person said about them, and they just in the middle listening to both of them talk about each other and can't wait to tell each other what the other one said. But when they cut out that middleman and they go to each other and they talk and they squash it and they see what the problem is, that middleman feels some kind of way. Sometimes they're scared. They start to think about all the stuff they've said about people and all the rumors they've shared and all the just that they've caused. And they get scared that people are going to find them out. And then they start praying, "Lord, if this doesn't if this doesn't come to the surface, I promise I'll stop doing this. I promise I'll stop doing that. I won't do this anymore. I won't do that anymore." And guess what? If they don't get found out, they're going to go back to doing it because it's in them. Those prayers were just in vain. They're gonna go back to doing it. It's just in them to be that way. But when you confront that middleman, and you confront that middleman, and more people confront that middleman, they have nobody to go to, because after a while, people are gonna be like, I don't want to hear it. Sonia, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Every time you come around, there's always some kind of friction between me and somebody else, because that's what you do. Middleman might get mad. Who cares? You're cutting that out. So I want to tell you guys today, a middleman is not a necessity. If you want to share something in your life and you really have to talk to somebody who doesn't call you to gossip about somebody else. You could always go to the throne and talk all you want. I have people I can talk to that I've never heard them gossip about somebody else. I mean, just pick up the phone and call and say, ooh, girl, you know what I heard? Uh, uh, uh. Straight gossip. Anything that starts with a and ooh, child, or whoo, or oh my God, wait till you hear what I have to tell you about so and so. Yeah, all middleman negativity, or just negativity. Doesn't even have to be a middleman. You want to cut that out of your life, because you don't want to be the one who somebody is calling somebody else about to share your business. And let me tell you as well, middlemen exaggerate because the story has to be juicy. It has to be juicy. So they might, you might just say, you know what? Me and my husband got into it, and he actually walked out, and he went to a bar, came home at 5 in the morning, pissy drunk, and I was just so upset with him, and I don't know what to do. That story might come out. Man, Sonia and Q got into a knockout, drag out. He hit her upside her head, and then she was chasing him with a knife, so he left, and he went to some chick's house until 5 in the morning. Cut out the negative middleman. They bring more trouble than they're worth sometimes. And if you know a middleman person in your life and they are your friend, I'm not saying get rid of them. They serve their purpose still as a friend. Just minimize what you share, but more than that, minimize what you'll receive. It is your girl, Sonia McQueen. You can find me at Sonia M at ledbymotivation.com. That's SONYAM at ledbymotivation.com. Or you can email us at ledbymotivation07@gmail.com. And if you don't get our free newsletter, Motivational Monthly, shame on you. Shame on you. All it takes is sending me an email with your email address saying, I'd like to get your newsletter, and it is done just like that. Have a beautiful day on purpose, and I will talk to you tomorrow.